In a world where a zombie apocalypse reigns supreme, supplies and weapons are the only things that matter to the survivors. Unlike the rest, our MC has everything he needs. Xiao Yang knew that the apocalypse was coming soon and prepared in advance. He built his fortress, stocked up on supplies, and gathered his friends to live comfortably in the midst of the apocalypse. But all the supplies would have run out soon if he hadn't received a system that gives him tasks to complete. By doing so, he receives loot boxes with valuable rewards, resources, and buffs that make him stronger. And it all started, as always, with betrayal. Inside an abandoned warehouse, our main character is hanging onto a thread. Literally. Below him are a bunch of zombies, ready to have their meal served fresh. Zhang Xiao Yang's shitty girlfriend calls him out and takes great joy in telling him that she has already killed all his friends. Poor Xiao Yang reflects on his life, realizing that he has made some serious mistakes and they've cost him his friends' lives. He deems himself at fault, shouting at the woman and promising her a painful death. But of course, an empty threat like that from the position he's in means nothing to this bitch, who clings to her sugar daddy and moans about getting her feelings hurt. The Fatso leader thinks it's time for them to see Xiao Yang tortured to death. To rub salt on the wound, he even thanks our boy for leaving behind all of his supplies, which will help sustain them for a few months without any worries. And well, our main character meets his doom as he falls into the cage of zombies. The freak shows immediately pounce on him, tearing apart his flesh, as he remains helpless, writhing in pain. Though Xiao Yang's screams reach the skies, he makes a final declaration with a vengeance. If he's given a second chance by Truck Kuan, he's going to make it his life's goal to destroy both Kajing and Li Shuxiang. The regression Ice Sky gods apparently heard his wish because in the very next scene, Bro awakens in his past self. In front of him is Kajing, giving us a nice view of her dump truck to redeem herself. Being the gold digger that she is, she shouts at our boy for not adding her name to his property. Xiao Yang exclusively ignores her yapping and processes the situation around him. He quickly realizes that he's regressed to a time just before the apocalypse sent the world to hell. A weight of guilt looms over him as he recalls the painful betrayal he experienced at the hands of Kajing, the fake hoe who graduated from the University of Yopology. The betrayal resulted in his family's inheritance getting squashed, as well as his wealth getting destroyed. Damn, I don't even think a zombie apocalypse was necessary. This woman is a walking apocalypse herself. Let's talk about the specifics of what happened. Just like your typical zombie outbreak story, humans suddenly became infected with a virus and began hunting each other down. Thanks to Xiao Yang's excellent connections and reliable friends, he was able to form a safe zone to help the survivors. Everything was proceeding smoothly, until one day, the apologist arrived to seek shelter. She pretended to be helpless and lost, and because of her pathetic state, our boy took pity on her and invited her in. That became his most regrettable mistake he ever made. Playing the nice guy cost him. She easily took advantage of the situation and invited her own group inside the safe zone. The fact that this same woman is standing a few feet apart from him and shouting at him to give him money is all you need to know about how insufferable she is. Our boy is giving her the look of death and wants to strangle her, but he knows that there's no point rushing things right now. However, he does shove her outside because she just won't shut up. The door slams shut on Kuei-jin's face and her confusion is satisfying to see. The same dude who she treated as her slave all this time suddenly has the balls to kick her out without any issues. Back to his apartment, Xiao Yang quickly glances at the calendar, realizing that he's only got a month in preparation before the world-ending apocalypse rears its head on him. Suddenly, something strange happens as a system screen pops up, activating the apocalypse system. His objective is to own a piece of land and prepare a year's worth of supplies. Something tells me the system must be taking inspiration from Genghis Khan. Did I mention the reward? It's 10 points, which can be exclusively exchanged for rewards at the store. Seeing the happy expression on his face, you can tell how Xiao Yang's feeling. He's really glad to discover his fancy new system that can help him manage through the apocalypse. Inside the store, there are only 3 items for now. An enhancement potion, a survival kit, and a protagonist supply box, which I find interesting. Each of them can be exchanged for different point costs. Things are already going better for him than he anticipated, as Xiao Yang quickly remembers just how miserable he was during this point in his life. Because he wanted to gather every tiny penny for Cui Jing's dowry, he skipped out on his meals and starved himself to save costs. Imagine doing all of that for a girl that still ends up betraying you. Anyway, he grabs his phone, realizing he should order some food because the zombies won't let him have any of it anyway. That same night, the scene cuts to him savoring at the sight of his dinner, personalizing his expensive takeout experience. Bro is so eager to taste quality pork that the moment he takes a single bite, he gets the power of the gods and becomes shredded as hell. Just kidding. But that's definitely how it feels because of the amazing taste. So he starts munching down on the food like a Victorian child who hasn't eaten in days. And the next thing he knows is his phone blasting up. Xiao Yang checks it and realizes that it's a call from Cui Jing's best friend, Wen Shuya. In typical toxic best friend fashion, she starts mouthing off at him on the phone for dismissing his girlfriend. The chick gets on his nerves so much that he hangs up on her. Instead, he focuses on his objective to acquire a piece of land. His current goal is to build a powerful fortress that can easily be defended, but also shares the facility of water and forests nearby. So the following day, our boy gets to work. He's making way inside a real estate company and talks to a property consultant to assist him with his request. She greets her customer, inquiring about his intentions to buy or rent a house. Before he could answer, their conversation is interrupted by Xiao Ning's superior, who orders her to work on bottom-tier tasks instead of being at the front. This asshole is actually the company's sales manager, Zhu. He shoves her aside and tells her to go work at the back, even though she was perfectly fine assisting a client. Manager Zhu is a discriminating corporate douchebag who calls Xiao Yang a brookie from one look at his outfit. Our boy quickly defends himself, calling out the disrespectful manager's words. Instead of apologizing, the manager doubles down on his take, emphasizing that people like Xiao Yang can't even afford a toilet and therefore shouldn't be taken seriously. Xiao Yang despises this guy's guts and promises to ruin his confidence with his next move. Bro whips out an American Express card and proudly declares that he's here to buy land. The fact that he's out here to buy land causes all of them to get startled and roaring in shock, realizing that they've struck gold with this customer. The consultant Xiao Ning nicely tells him to come along, as she'll brief him properly with a detailed account. The whole thing gets under manager Zhu's nerves, who thinks that this kid is bragging without any money to back it up for it. In the next scene, Xiao Ning presents him with a list of land options for him to purchase. But our boy's not here to look around from a list. Instead, he plans to speak his exact requirements so they can get something for him. First off, he wants the place to be near the mountains with a fresh and flowing water source. A proper transportation system should also be there. And lastly, he'd prefer a factory or a big house situated upon it. With his exact requirements in mind, Xiao Ning considers her options. Manager Zhu decides to swing in with a recommendation in order to humiliate our boy. It's true that there's a plot in the East District, but it's incomplete and riddled with unfinished factories and other complications. That's why Xiao Ning doesn't want to recommend it. However, this arrogant lad doesn't care. He thinks that Xiao Yang is intentionally listing ridiculous requirements because a customer like him never has any intention of buying in the first place. To that, our boy raises a question, wanting to know if the East District plot really does satisfy his requirements. Xiao Ning agrees, but reminds him about the unfinished factories and the project leader exiting the project. Checking the records of the plot, Xiao Yang quickly realizes that he might actually have something going for him. This is a nice plot, easy to defend with a barbed wire enclosure, and difficult to approach or attack. The fact that there are unfinished factories is a bonus for him. Right away, he agrees to purchase the plot and sign the contract. The polite consultant lowers her head in agreement, but she's totally shocked that her customer is about to buy a place with unfinished factories roaming around. Xiao Yang doesn't exactly give a damn and wants the contract to be brought up, so he can shove some shit in the manager's mouth. Hilariously, in the next scene, Manager Zhu is screaming at the bill, questioning how the hell anyone could leave a giant deposit. It doesn't make sense to cover millions for a plot with a bunch of rundown factories on it. Here's the best part. Xiao Yang quickly turns up to remind him about the deal. Since he's purchased the plot, the manager has to eat a fresh load of crap. As Xiao Yang is walking away, even the other customers are ridiculing the manager, streaming his reaction and awaiting his performance. They're so ready to volunteer for the task. Let's go back to our boy. Recalling his two main missions from the apocalypse system, he's just taken care of one by spending his bride money on purchasing land. His next concern is to stockpile a ton of resources for a year. As he's walking away, Su Xiang actually sees him and wonders what the guy is doing here. Fudgy the whale then glances at the ridiculous scene taking place in front of him. People have manager Zhu on his knees, and they're force-feeding him shit on a live stream. Damn, now that's a fate worse than death. The disgusting scene is replaced by a seductive one, presenting Kuei Jin in all her curvaceous glory. The woman suddenly receives a call from Su Xiang, who quickly informs her about Xiao Yang's visit to the real estate company. And yup, that definitely gets her going because her main question is, how the hell was he able to buy land and with what money? Su Xiang reports the exact deposit details and reports that this man probably spent his bride's money on it. Kuei Ping is pissed off after learning that the money she deserved is being used for his personal expenses. Instead of getting her riled up, Big Mac Attack tells her to just ask the guy himself and see what's going on. Her yapping goes on, and I'll gladly skip that part because who wants to hear that? Back to our boy, who is busy reflecting on his next idea. The big problem comes in the form of money, as he'll need a lot of it to cover for resources and work around building his base. His peaceful pondering is annihilated with a loud banging on his door. Bro probably thinks the FBI discovered something in his browser history. But no, it's just Dumb and Dumber, two of the most annoying women on the entire planet, and they're furious with the way Xiao Yang spent Kuei Jin's money. Completely confused by the situation, the dude wonders what the hell is going on. Kuei Jin does not spare him a chance to say anything, and straight up accuses him of using her money to buy land. Not just that, she claims ownership over the land he just bought too. As you can tell, Xiao Yang finds her accusations to be ridiculous. First, he slaps her shoulder with a pile of cash, and then he reminds her that he's never going to allow a woman like her to spend even a single cent. In fact, he even brings up his knowledge of Su Qiong and Kuei Jin dating each other in secret, which ultimately surprises her even more. Worst Bestie of the Year chimes into cover for her friend, acting innocent and stating that it's just a misunderstanding between a couple. However, our boy isn't convinced, and straight up calls her a cheater for playing him against her sugar daddy. Slamming the door on her face, he tells her to get lost. Instead of feeling guilty over her actions, the one thing that bothers Kuei Jin is how our boy was able to discover their secret relationship. That's how you know this woman is very messed up. She doesn't even care about the fact that she made a serious mistake. Her bestie is surprisingly also shocked, not knowing when the secret relationship even began. She's also disgusted that it had to be with the old bastard Su Qiong. Even she understands that they've got no leverage against Xiao Yong anymore, so they'll have to return with another plan later on. Earlier, I called this woman the worst bestie of the year, and you guys are about to know why. You see, she's a snake who has been waiting to shoot her shot. She's glad that the two of them are fighting, because she can sneak in and take Xiao Yong for herself. Anyway, let's not talk about those two horrible people and focus back to Xiao Yong, who came to visit the unfinished factory. The crew leader of the construction company explains that they'll have to renovate a number of things and install proper defense systems, and based on that, it'll take some time. Hilariously, with how many defense systems they're installing in place, even the construction crew member is like, "Are you about to fight God or something?" Our boy refuses to cooperate and simply orders the completion of the project within a month. The captain straight up tells him that it's not possible to end this in a month. Despite the numbers they have at their disposal, it won't be enough. But funnily enough, the same captain then tells him that the kid will have to pay more to finish his demands in a month. The project will be rushed, so they'll need a minimum of 20 million for the job. Without even despairing at the price, our boy simply smiles and asks to confirm it's really all they want. The leader expresses that Xiao Yong will also have to make an upfront payment of 5 million to get things started. Our boy is actually on board with the plan and explains that he'll get the money transferred in 1 week, as long as they don't waste time and begin right away. The captain is at a loss for words. He's probably wondering if Xiao Yong's the son of Chinese Elon Musk or something. Oh, and our boy emphasizes that if he skips out on the payment or crosses them in any way, he'll name the plot under their name in order to prevent the damages. The attractive deal gets sealed. But right then, the conversation is interrupted by Kuei Jin's friend, who acts all buddy-buddy with him and grabs his arm, asking what he's up to. Already, our boy is pretty damn pissed off, knowing that in the previous life, this bitch was also involved in a scandal, and she helped Kuei Jin to steal his family's property. He eventually plans to deal with her in his own way, but for now, Xiao Yong how she ended up here. The girl refuses to answer and brightly questions if this is the plot he's been working on. She wonders if he's going to use it to build a villa on top of it. Done playing the nice guy, Xiao Yong frees himself and tells her that it's none of her business. This pisses the bitch off even more. She can't believe that he's acting so rude, even though her heart is racing for him out of love. Focusing back to his project, Xiao Yong tells the construction crew to expand some space for the gate. Feeling ignored, she frowns at her inability to capitalize on this golden opportunity. She knows that Kue Jin's relationship is in shambles, but she can still play her cards and steal the land from our boy. I'm starting to feel convinced that our boy is a chick magnet for the worst women ever. Back at his apartment, Xiao Yong manages funds by using his house as a collateral. But even then, that's not enough to cover the initial payment. His biggest concern is getting a boatload of money. He even considers the idea of selling his place a few times to a few different owners, knowing that it won't matter when the apocalypse is going to come anyway. What are they going to do? Sue him in a zombie court? His peace and quiet is shattered when an annoying old man bangs on his door, shouting that Xiao Yong opens it at once. Apparently, this dude is supposed to be his neighbor, Grandpa Li, who appears to have some money. The old guy is so rich that he owns the first 2 floors to his name, and now he's looking for Xiao Yong's place, too. The only reason our boy didn't sell it in the original timeline is because he thought of this place as his eventual wedding house. But with how that turned out, and how this old fart is constantly shouting at him, he's starting to change his mind. Grandpa Li scolds the kid for going out clubbing, even though Xiao Yong completely denies such false accusations. Instead of continuing the meaningless argument, our boy simply surrenders the house to the old geezer's name, finally making the leap to have it sold. This brightens the annoying geezer's mood, as he's astonished to hear those words coming out of the kid's mouth. Xiao Yong emphasizes that there's a condition attached to it. Since his new place won't be ready for another 6 months to come, he'll require an upfront payment of 5 million so that he can personally pay off his house loan. It's actually a pretty smart strategy if he repeats this a few more times with different buyers. Xiao Yong intends to shut the door on him if he declines, but at the last moment, the old geezer caves in and accepts the conditions. However, he wants a contract to be set up so neither parties experience any issues. Of course, something as simple as a contract never bothered our boy, especially when he knew this geezer would die after claiming the house. Anyway, things are looking good so far. He'll soon get access to 5 million from Grandpa Li, and with the 3 million he pledged on his own, he now has 8 million to work with in total. Thanks to completing the first requirement, he can also now claim a reward for the mission. In the next scene, our boy is speedrunning the grocery stores. This man has become the Max Verstappen of a shopping trolley. Even the people around him are starting to question if the kid is mentally ill or some shit. Their reaction is solid, especially when you realize that Xiao Yong has like 7 different carts jam-packed with stuff inside. The people think that someone must have fooled him with the fear of an incoming apocalypse, forcing him to buy all that. Xiao Yong doesn't pay attention to these fools and ends up completing the second task. He assesses where he should be spending his points. Even though he could boost his stats, it would be more efficient to get the toolbox of the protagonist. Without any hesitation, he chooses it and spends all his points. The result is a beaming mystery box which unveils a powerful space ring to store his items in a static dimension. Overall, our boy is pretty satisfied to get his hands on a legendary item. He also doesn't have to worry about his food going bad inside the static dimension anymore. If you guys think gathering 1 year supplies was next, well, the system goes even further and now demands him to gather 10 years of supplies to earn more points. Having caught attention from the store's manager, security arrives to take care of any lunatics causing a scene. Yang Tao is surprised to find Xiao Yong here of all places. To give a bit of a background check, Yang Tao used to be an annoying bully back in their school days. They tormented the weak, including our boy, who refused to accept their orders. Their encounters during school were already rough, and now this guy is out here screaming at Xiao Yong to return all these supplies back to where he found them instead of causing a scene. Our boy gives him a fearless smile and points out that nothing has changed regarding Yang Tao's personality, as he's still Captain Douchebag like he was before. He promises to follow up with the purchase too, but in the eyes of the security manager, he thinks Xiao Yong is messing around, and he demands him to pay at once or suffer the consequences instead. An entire hour later, four receptionists finally end up concluding the checkout for all the items. It results in a total of nearly 57,000 yuan. Right away, Yang Tao forces our boy to insert his card and check out at once. Acting like he just pulled off some kind of god-tier move, Xiao Yong swipes the card with confidence. To the manager's utter shock, the transfer goes through, flooring Yang Tao's expectations. Humiliated, he takes his men and turns to leave, but our boy's not quite done as he calls him for one last thing. Xiao Yong expresses that he received unjust rudeness for his purchase, so he wants an official apology, or else he'll return these items immediately. Hearing this gets Yang Tao's blood boiling, who thinks that the kid is pushing his limits and deliberately looking for trouble. But in today's world, cameras are everywhere and people can be easily documented. That's why the other customers there are holding the rude security manager on the spot, ordering him to give an immediate apology or become famous on TikTok for his stubbornness. Things are working out great in Xiao Yong's favor, who reminds his old classmate that an apology won't hurt him. In fact, it might just give him the push to buy 10 times more. Yang Tao thinks it's an exaggeration, but our boy calmly decides to prove him wrong a second time by showing him his balance. When he swipes the card, the look on Yang Tao's face is priceless, as he's unable to comprehend how this guy has 7 million casually sitting in his account. With no other way to save his face, Xiao Yong pushes the humiliated Yang Tao to offer an apology. The bully caves in and lowers his head, apologizing for his behavior. To embarrass him even more, our boy pats his head and reminds him not to behave rudely for no reason. As he's leaving, Yang Tao curiously asks what he bought all of this stuff for. Using the best answer in the book, Xiao Yong dismisses him by stating that it's none of his damn business and that he's planning on something big. The humbled manager expresses that he'll need to find a wholesaler for even greater purchases like that. This catches our boy's attention, as he turns to ask if Yang Tao has any ties with wholesalers. The guy actually confirms the fact, reminding him of their old leader Zhang Shengjie, who currently works in the wholesale business. In fact, Yang Tao even makes a call to speak to him for a big client. The surprising part for Xiao Yong is realizing that this rude bitch is still serving under the same boss, even out of school. It makes him wonder how much money they've made together in the business. A short while later, Yang Tao takes him to his boss's place. A car quickly arrives and pulls the brakes just inches away from the two of them. Exiting the car is the arrogant bastard who thinks he runs the world, Zhang Shengjie. He wants to have a meeting with this supposed big client right away. Yang Tao even helps refresh the man's memory by reminding him that Xiao Yong used to be their classmate. But of course, since much time has passed since then, this roughneck doesn't remember anything. Inspecting our boy's face closely, he suddenly realizes Xiao Yong's identity. It's the kid who always stood his own against their group and rebelled against their orders. He tries to belittle our boy's drip by calling it fake. It doesn't also help when Xiao Yong acts like he doesn't even know the name of the brand. From his reaction, Zhang Shengjie thinks that he's only wasted his time by coming here. The kid isn't a big client at all. He kicks Yang Tao's ass, literally, and states that he can tell how rich a person is by just looking at them. To make fun of the boss, Xiao Yong sarcastically talks about his aura being so weak that he can't intimidate a dumb boss. Provoked, Zhang Shengjie grabs him by his clothes. But our boy doesn't back down, repeating what he said. Hilariously, Zhang Shengjie is only infuriated about the insult illiterate. He doesn't care about the fact that Xiao Yong taunted him for acting superior to others. Anyway, Yang Tao chimes in to break the conflict between the two. But the poor dude ends up getting kicked again for interrupting. The pissed-off boss thinks that Xiao Yong has made a big mistake, thinking he'll go back in one piece if he doesn't buy a ton of goods from him. And again, yes, the one piece is real. Xiao Yong stands his ground and decides to show him his little bank account. The boss can't believe what he's seeing. The kid is ready to make a giant purchase of 1 million at the drop of a needle. To go even further, our boy states that he'll actually be purchasing 5 million worth of goods. The initial 1 million is just a deposit to get things going. Intrigued, Zhang Shengjie inquires for the kind of goods he's looking for. The kid tells him that he wants everything that is edible or drinkable to be included as part of the goods. Despite the fact that a giant client is standing before him, this greedy boss thinks that he can easily scam our boy by handing him a batch of food that has almost expired. It's a lottery ticket for him. Inside the warehouse, Zhang Shengjie shows him the goods and throws in a 10% discount if he buys everything here. However, our boy is strictly concerned with the quality of the goods first, so he decides to check a bag of peanut sand and quickly points out how most of the stuff here is nearing its expiry date, exposing the boss's greediness. Zhang Shengjie genuinely didn't know that Xiao Yong would be so well versed in this line of business. He decides to throw in a 50% discount if he takes everything from the pile. However, our boy quickly turns him down, stating that if he's spending 5 million for goods, they'll have to be of the best quality. However, he does have plans to use these expired goods as well. The boss doesn't get what he's plotting, but now that a discount offer is already on the table, Xiao Yong uses it to leverage his negotiation. He wants all the expired goods, but with the condition that he'll pay in a month's worth of time. Zhang Shengjie doesn't mind, but he's afraid what will happen when the goods end up expiring and he backs out of the deal. To that, Xiao Yong even throws in an offer to mortgage his own house for the cost. The boss at this point is quite intrigued about the kind of business Xiao Yong is running. For him to acquire expired stuff without any problems, our boy doesn't dread his choices. In fact, he leaves a little nugget of information for the boss. In just a few days' time, even expired food will be seen as a luxury to have. This sends shivers down Zhang Shengjie's spine, but refusing to elaborate in his typical style, Xiao Yong seals the deal and promises to send the delivery address later. Picking up his phone call, our boy realizes that an interested buyer has reached out to him for his house. He wraps things up with the warehouse and lets them take care of everything. As he's leaving, Yang Tao is left wondering if they're the ones who got spammed. Even the boss can't figure out how a normal-looking kid is out here spending millions without any concern. In the next scene, the interested buyer actually makes a deposit of $400,000 for our boy's house. He also accepts the contractual condition that Xiao Yong will leave the house in 3 months. I think you guys can understand what he's doing here, right? He doesn't care about the consequences because the world will be plunged into chaos anyway. Xiao Yong is surprised by the old man's desperation, who didn't even inspect his house and sealed the deal anyway. He decides to ask for the old man's motivation, who explains that he's doing it for his granddaughter's sake, who has to transfer schools and requires a new place for it. They saw a nice-looking home and thought to make an offer. Scaring him, Xiao Yong wonders if he should raise the price now that he's heard of their desperation. This makes the poor guy shrink in fear. Maintaining his original price, Xiao Yong assures him that he won't do anything of the sort. They quickly sign the contract, and the deal is done. The old man is grateful for the boy's kindness and promises not to disturb him any longer. However, this situation is devastating for our protagonist, who thinks that it's a shame that innocent people like this old man and his granddaughter won't even be able to survive the gruesome apocalypse. Deciding to extend one last piece of kindness, he stops the old man and requests an address of their current location. In the next scene, Xiao Yong's back to the construction side, checking on his plot. Of course, the first batch of funds is clear, but the captain is hoping for the second batch too now. Our boy assures him they'll get the money soon, and asks for an update on the construction phase. From the looks of it, 80% of it has already been completed. They've installed reliable doors and structures to ensure proper defense. The warehouse is also looking good. It's already cleaned up too. Having gained assurance from him, Xiao Yong signals Zhang Shengjie to deliver all the goods immediately. Shortly after, the stuff arrives and it is carefully stocked in each pile. Just for the labor alone, the generous Xiao Yong is paying them 2,000 each for the task. While these guys are celebrating, our boy helps them categorize each pile efficiently, making sure the perishable items are stored without any inconvenience. By the evening, the sorting process is complete. Xiao Yong stares down at his magnum opus. At long last, he has officially stocked 10 years' worth of supplies, gaining 20 points on top of it. Once again, he inspects the system store, and realizes that another box has arrived in the list of options. The one good thing about the system is that he'll have access to these superpowers before the zombie apocalypse even hits the world. Spending 10 points, he purchases another mystery box, which unveils an ability known as the Mind's Eye. Its simple function is to detect hostility and ill intentions from other people, which is convenient when it comes to trusting people in the apocalypse. Replacing his earlier task is the new task, Armed to the Teeth. It requires him to get a shitload of weapons and stock up John Wick style, which is exactly what Xiao Yong had in mind. That same night, we turn to a darker side of society, the black market. Xiao Yong is navigating his way through the crowd, hearing people rambling about antique items. All of the terrible people are gathered here, including Big Mac Attack Su Chong, who is currently arguing with a shop owner for a ridiculous price on a bracelet. Seeing him purchase fake bracelets at this market only assures our boy that Fatso is a scammer and Chi-jin can't even tell she's wearing fake jewelry. While searching around, Xiao Yong finally catches something worth his attention. He comes to a shop owner who is selling melee weapons. Xiao Yong is interested in buying the good stuff. The shop owner recommends a knife sharpener or just a baton if he's looking for something stiff and not sharp. Xiao Yong counters that he requires something even harder than that. The only thing harder than a baton is Dwayne Johnson's bald head. Anyway, the shop owner thinks his customer is messing around without actually being interested in buying. To his utter shock, the same kid transfers 200,000 right in his account, assuring the guy that he's interested in buying. Intrigued, the seller invites Xiao Chong to keep watching his stall while they go off to speak in private. In the following scene, they're in his storage room. The man shows him a bunch of homemade guns that can go for 2,000 yuan, but they're not powerful enough to kill someone. Of course, Xiao Yong refuses them because he's going to be facing actual zombies, not chickens in the apocalypse. The seller then invites his attention to a replica revolver, which goes for about 5,000 yuan. Once again, the kid is serious and isn't impressed at all, especially when he's paid a staggering 200,000 in advance. The mention of an advance payment makes the shop owner shocked. Because Xiao Yong isn't just here for 200 grand. No, that's just 10% of the original amount he's willing to invest on weapons. In fact, he'll be spending 2 whole million on them for the job. His outrageous offer makes the seller question the kind of life this guy's living. I'm telling you all, man's about to become the John Wick of the zombie apocalypse. Without further ado, he tells the seller to get on with it. Deciding to bring out the good stuff, the guy covers his house properly, assuring no one is watching them. He also assures Xiao Yong that he's come to the right place, as he can send him to a supplier who can help complete the transaction with high-quality weapons. The real meeting will happen in a couple of days. As he's walking out of the storage house, Xiao Yong ends up bumping into Fudgy Pudgy again, who finally understands why Xiao Yong is spending a comfortable life lately. He thinks that the kid sold off a good portion of his stuff on the black market to become rich. Little does he know, Xiao Yong is uninterested in his provocations and simply wants to use this idiot to test his newest ability. Activating the mind's eye, he first inspects the intentions of the seller, who appear to be in his favor. But for the fatso in front of him, not so much. Xiao Yong bites back by telling Su Xiong that just like those second-hand bracelets, he also took in Cui Jing, who is worth all the fake shit he bought. Someone's gonna need an icing for that burn. One simple remark is enough to get Su Xiong's nerves flared. The seller wonders if they know each other. To that our boy emphasizes that it's best to consider him an enemy. Since they've become good friends already, the seller offers his support to our boy, promising to beat the crap out of the old fart for messing with them. Xiao Yong leaves satisfied while Su Xiong is at the verge of tears, seeing a bunch of ruthless men approaching him with a baton. They shove him on the ground and literally kick him down until he's full of marks. This incident only boils his hatred for Xiao Yong, and he promises to exact his revenge one day. 2 days finally passed. Our boy receives a truck full of his fancy weapons, completing the mission reward as well as gaining a bonus reward for it. The bonus reward is a physical enhancement potion to help boost his stats. It's even got a multiplier of 2, so it's even more effective than what he can purchase at the store. Wasting any time, he loads the injection and chucks it into his body. Seconds later, he realizes that he surpassed the average male strength, which is at 5 points. Right now, he's at 7 points, allowing a 40% increase in physical might. Next up, he checks the store, which only has a survival kit and a physical enhancement potion for him. Deciding to maximize his strength stat, he goes for the physical enhancement potion and injects it again. By the end, our boy is stacked with 8 physical points, significantly boosting his power by 60% compared to the average male. To test his ability, he looks around and grabs a hardened rod. Xiao Yong kicks it so hard that it bends and leaves a crack in the nearest wall. With his current level of strength, zombies are going to be catching these mighty hands. Next up, he decides to store all of his weapons inside the spatial ring, which sucks all the crates inside the static dimension. Assessing his situation, Xiao Yong understands that the apocalypse will break out in 2 days. He has to tie up any loose ends now, which reminds him of the situation with the old man he met. Even though people betrayed his trust in the apocalypse, deep down, Xiao Yong is a good person who wants to help others when he can. That's why he intends to send their family a bunch of supplies to survive, but from then on, it's up to the people to manage their own. In the next scene, Xiao Yong arrives at the old man's place. It was difficult to find the exact location because of how downtrodden this place appears to be. As he's climbing stairs, our boy understands that the old man must be in a really terrible place in life. As he's knocking the door, he realizes that it's best to whip out the supplies he brought first, so that he doesn't have to deal with it. His magic ring materializes the rationing supplies just outside, and finally he knocks the door. The old man worriedly comes up, apologizing for the situation of the rent. But he's shocked to discover Xiao Yong at his doorstep, and not just that, the kid has brought tons of stuff alongside him. Our boy tells him that he doesn't have time to explain, so it's best if they transfer the stuff inside quickly. In the next scene, the crates are all placed inside, and the old man is pretty impressed by Xiao Yong's stamina. Our boy inspects his surroundings and thinks that the old man's apartment is well secured. He warns the old man not to spill a word of what he's about to tell him. Xiao Yong advises them to use the supplies smartly, because the world is about to experience a change. Suddenly, he glances at a photograph of the old geezer's beautiful granddaughter. To his utter shock, it's actually Shan, one of his friends that he made when the apocalypse broke out. To confirm her identity, he checks with her grandfather, who is surprised that Xiao Yong knows her name, even though they never brought it up in their conversation. Concerned, Xiao Yong immediately asks for her location. Turns out that she's in her hometown studying, and in the process of transferring. In the original timeline, he found her with lingering regrets about her grandfather's demise, who risked his life to save her and died in the process. As his friend, Xiao Yong refuses to let the same outcome happen again. First off, he tells her grandfather that he's not going to be able to move into his house. This causes the poor guy to panic out of fear, but Xiao Yong helps calm him down by explaining the end of the world. A zombie apocalypse will break out tomorrow, and no place will be safe from now on. That's why he wants the old geezer to pick up his daughter from school, and then they'll decide where they should stay. This is too much for the old man to understand all at once. Unfortunately, Xiao Yong doesn't have a choice but to help his understanding. He describes the situation to be similar to a famine. Starvation will be the norm for their once peaceful world. Xiao Yong practically demonstrates his point by sucking in all their furniture as well as the crates back to his ring. Shan's grandfather is at a loss for words, until our boy explains that he has special powers and the ability to see the future. That's why he wants them to be safe, and they must head to Shan's school right away. In the next scene, they're inside the car rushing to the school. Arriving here, Xiao Yong quickly asks for her dormitory as the two of them quickly look around for her. Well, apparently Shan is out here getting bitch-slapped by a jealous woman because some random dude has a crush on her. Even though Shan has tried clarifying that she shares no involvement with the guy, she still gets struck for making excuses. These evil bitches torture Shan for acting nonchalant in front of their crush. Lucky for her, Shan's grandpa comes rushing to find her. The helpless old man demands the woman to let her go, but to deal with them, a bunch of high school lunatics arrive, threatening the old man for getting involved. For his granddaughter's sake, the old man rushes in blindly and faces off against the three men. One ruthless bastard is about to clock his head with a baseball bat. Before the attack even connects, Xiao Yong grabs his arm and stops it. He taunts the guy for pretending to be a gangster, when really they're just a bunch of high schoolers. The idiots try to clown on him, but Xiao Yong beautifully answers by kicking the first guy so hard that his hair turns blonde. Just one kick dropped him to the ground, making the other two idiots question if they're dealing with a trained professional. They stupidly try to surround him, thinking that's going to make a difference. Our boy gladly welcomes the attempt. The dude with the club attempts to strike him from his blind spot, but completely misses his mark as Xiao Yong ducks with ease. Now that he's amplified his strength stat, his reflexes are on a whole different level, causing him to react faster. To return the blow with love, he grabs the guy's collar and smashes him into the ground, knocking him out immediately. As for the leader of the group, he tries sneaking up with a knife stab. Unfortunately for him, Xiao Yong maneuvers his fist to his advantage and brutally delivers a kick just below his thigh. Just so you know, Getting kicked here by a real-life professional is bound to put you down with the worst kind of pain imaginable. Well, in these idiots' case, Xiao Yong has been successful in helping them take a nap. Next, he walks up to the girl who toyed with Shan Shan. A bitch slap to the face reminds her that he's showing his support for feminism and exercising equal rights. Girl is literally seeing stars for a minute. Bro then grabs the other bitch and shows her how it feels when someone pulls your hair. He then puts a blade right up to her neck, drawing tears out of the fear in her eyes. And then boom, a sharp swing cuts through as the woman screams in pain. At first glance, it looks like bro just got his first body count kill. Even the reaction of Shan Shan makes it seem like he really unalived someone. But no, he just gave her a little haircut. You know how the barbers treat you when you say, just cut a little off the top. And then they end up running a fade check on you? Yeah, it's happening to her. She screams at him, promising never to forgive him for what he did. But let's be real. Our boy doesn't give a damn and even acts like he did her a favor by taking off the extra weight. Hilariously, he tells her that she'll get what he's talking about in a few days' time. For now, he tells Shan Shan that they're heading off. She doesn't know where, but she follows him anyway. As in the next scene, they're driving to their new location. Grandpa over here explains the situation to her, talking about how there's going to be a famine apocalypse. Shan Shan is conflicted and thinks that her grandpa fooled himself by attending one of the scam calls again. He assures her that it wasn't a scam call. Seeing the two of them interact in such a way amuses our boy, who is glad that she's happy in this life. Xiao Yang signals her that he's the one who told her grandpa about everything. The Shan Shan of this world has no idea who he even is. So he introduces himself properly again. She thanks her new brother for helping out with the bullies. But Xiao Yang isn't too worried about them anyway, since they won't be surviving in a few days. Still, the girl is lost and doesn't get what's about to happen to the world. Xiao Yang clarifies that he only describes the situation as a famine, because it's the easiest way for her grandpa to understand. This gives the poor girl some hope, making her believe that everything's going to be fine. Bro quickly reaps her soul by replacing the word famine with an apocalypse, utterly shattering her expectations. Xiao Yang states that things should already be going south, according to the news. Shan Shan quickly checks her phone and sees a bunch of videos about some kind of rabies infection causing people to go mad and attack people. Her fear grows and grows when she watches even more videos, horrified to see the condition of infected people. Xiao Yang stands corrected once again. The apocalypse is about to begin. Shan Shan learns that tomorrow will be the official breakout of the toxic smog, which will encompass several provinces. This dangerous smog will permanently alter the state of living beings. A good portion of the population will immediately turn into zombies, and from then on, they'll feast on those that are unaffected by the smog. Once killed, the uninfected become the undead, increasing their numbers. He's happy to know that Shan Shan at least has knowledge of what zombies are supposed to be like. It's just that the situation is far too ridiculous for her to understand, but our boy thinks she'll come to find it reasonable soon, especially when the entire world will be plunged into chaos after 1 week. But right now, they're stuck with another problem, traffic. Xiao Yang is surprised to find the emergency lane also blocked. The roads are packed. Shan Shan is afraid for her life, fearing that the zombies will find them while they're stuck here. Xiao Yang assures her that it's not that bad right now as the apocalypse hasn't fully broken out. Still, even though the main apocalypse is supposed to happen later, the chances of a small outbreak happening here are also pretty high. Speaking of dangerous, a driver decides to ram into the lanes by forcing his way through. He ends up slamming right into our boy's car, who is pissed off and retaliates on his own. He tries to stop the invader from entering the emergency lane. The guy stops just next to his car and starts shouting curses at Xiao Yang. Realizing that they're dealing with a snobbish rich guy driving a Mercedes, Shan Shan's grandpa recommends they let it go. But our boy doesn't play around. He doesn't mind giving this guy an early death if he bothers them out of the car. In the next scene, the traffic is finally unclogged, and the situation is resolved after an hour. Shan Shan warns our boy to watch out for the same driver from last time, who is quickly speeding up to cut through. Even Xiao Yang is shocked by this guy's stubbornness. The dude quickly cuts ahead in order to mock them. Even Shan Shan's grandpa thinks that this is unsafe and that they shouldn't stoop to his level. However, Xiao Yang has stopped giving a flying fuck to these kinds of people, knowing that the apocalypse is going to save him from any crimes anyway. What he ends up doing is ramming against the guy's car, causing it to spin over and crash on the side. The trust fund baby gets out of the car and immediately calls the traffic police to get Xiao Yang arrested. He's not the type of person to let someone go after they've wronged him.